Welcome everyone in this new video tutorial about Unreal Diablo-like dungeon generator. In this video we're going to build a simple logic that allows us to force the generator to spawn specific layouts. I mean not layouts, specific tiles. So we're going to dive right in and create a new variable. We're going to call this, how are we going to call this? I forgot how Diablo 3 called that, and we're just going to call that forced, uh, hmm, forced tiles. I'm not happy with the name, but we're going to keep that for now, and maybe we're going to create some folders for our metrics because it's starting to get to be a little big. And can we put metrics above components? No, we cannot. And we got a default scene root components in here. Oh, I just drag and drop that. Okay, okay. So I just drag and dropped components. I don't even know where I dragged it. I dragged the category, but it moved out of my way, and that's what I wanted. So I'm going to put all the tiles metric in a tiles folder. So, oh yeah. So we do not care about the fact that they are moving metrics elsewhere. We're just going to drag and drop the new category in here, and we're going to drag and drop our tiles layout like this. And we're also going to create new folders for that. This is going to be I'm not sure about that, so I'm just going to jump to the next variable for now. This is going in metrics layout, extra connections, tile amounts, max corridors in a row, additional tile amounts, min steps to start tile. Maximum reroll amount is going to be in a folder called loop because I don't want that to be in my way most of the time. Corridors to end tile, this is going to be in our layout folder. Max step start calculation retry, this is going to be in the loop. Max end tile retry as well. Force tile, this is our new variable which we are going to set up after that. Connect additional tile is going to be in our layout folder. Step actions as well. Start tile direction as well. Force end tile cardinal. We're going to rename that function end tile direction just to match our previous variable, which basically does the same thing. So are we happy about this? I think we are much happy. We're happier. And the last, so our variable force style, what it is going to be. In here, what I want to create, I'm just going to open up our tech design document. In here, I want to be able to specify tiles the generator will have to spawn. So I will be able to specify cardinals, and so I will be able to say I want a corner that goes from west to south, for instance. I want a four-way. If I say I want a four-way, the generator is automatically going to create tiles around the four-way it created. So, for instance, if I'm there and the generator says force, and I'm forcing the spawn of a four-way, it's going to spawn the four-way in here, for instance, and then it's automatically going to create tiles around it, and it's going to take a random tile among these tiles and continue creating the dungeon from there, like this. And the same thing will be true for a three-way. For instance, if this tile is a forced three-way, it's going to spawn a tile in here, and take a random tile among these two tiles to continue with the dungeon. And we are also going to be able to specify at which percentage of the dungeon we want the tile to be spawned, which means we will be able to say I want the four-way to spawn at 50% of the dungeon. So if we specify a dungeon length of 8, it's going to try to create the four-way when we reach the 4th tile. So in this case, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's going to try to spawn the four-way or the three-way, or whatever type of tile we specify, like this. So if we specify a four-way, it's going to create something like this. So, okay. We're going to do that. So how are we going to do that? I said we want a percentage of the dungeon. We want directions, and that's about it. So I think force tile is going to be it's going to be in the tiles folder, and this is going to be a float variable, which is going to be a map. And what is the type of the values? I think we're going to create a structure in our utility folder. We're going to create a new blueprint structure. This is going to be S direction. I wonder why I didn't create it earlier. I suppose that's because I'm a bit, I was a bit, how can I say that, in tunnel vision on the tutorial itself. So what is this going to be? This is just going to be an array of 4 bools. Oh, is it really going to be? No, it's not going to be an array of 4 bools. It's going to be a cardinal, a map of cardinal. This is going to be direction. And we want all the direction except for random. So we want the north, the south, the east, and the west. Oh, yep. I have to make this the west to add the north, and then I have to say this is the west and this is the north. And we want to say this is a boolean. Oh, it erased the, okay, my bad, guys. So west, east, south, and north, and we want to reverse this like that, just because we want them to be in the same order we're using in our level generator. This is going to be directions with a S. I was afraid it resets again. So north, south, east, west, like this. And so our first tile is a map of float with values equal to direction. We want to hit compile, save. And what are we going to plug in here? We're going to hit plus. How are we going to set up this metric? So this is going to be a percentage of the maximum of the tile amount. So if I specify 50, it's going to be 50% of the tile amounts. And if I specify direction, it's going to say, for instance, I want at 50% of the dungeon, I want a tile that is open to the north, which means it's going to create a dead end at that location. And we'll then need to specify that this tile cannot be plugged in any way, to any other tile. Because if we want a dead end, that's not, we won't, if we want a dead end, we don't want our extra connection features to connect the dead end to something else. Else we wouldn't have specified that we want a dead end. So, and if you say you want something like this, is going to say at 50% of the dungeon, I want a corner, a corridor that is going from north to south. So, which means it's going to try to create that connection if it can. So some of the connection will be harder than others to create. So am I going to do it this way? Yes, I am. So how are we going to do that? We're going to say that at 50% of the dungeon, we want, for now, we're just going to create the four-way. we're going to say at 50% of the dungeon we want a 4-way. So how are we doing this? We're going in our spawn tile layout. No, actually not at all. We want to go in our calculate layout function. We want to go in our generate tile layout function. And whenever we actually loop through a new tile, what do we want to say? We want to ask if this array is if this array divided by the maximum amount of tiles. We want to loop through our force tile and say, does any of the percentage here matches the percentage of the loop? You know what I mean? This divided by this give us the ratio. We'll have to multiply this by 100, and we're going to compare this to the values we put there. So we're going to build a variable that does this. So let's just collapse this to a function. We're going to call that function check for forced tiles, and we're going to, how are we going to do that? We want to, for now we're just going to create a parameter that returns a boolean that says created for forced tiles. Forced tile. Did it create a forced tile? So if it did not create a forced tile, we're going to go there. If it created a forced, if it did not created a forced tile, we want to create our regular tile like usual. And we want to destroy the second parameter. We don't want that. We want to double click that. We want to Control C, Control V our force tile. We want to put that here. We want to say current tile progression. We're going to hit compile, go back to our calculate layout function, generate tile layout function. And then this is our current tile progression. Did it create a force tile? No, it did not. So we're going to go there. And in here, we're going to say, so how are we going to do this? We're going to say, we're going to build an array with this forced tile %, but we're not going to do that in here. We're going to hit Control X. We're going to go to our reset level function. We're going to hit Control V. We want to store our force tile % in here. And then whenever so this is going to be a references variable. Default in root is going to be a references variable. This is going to be called, we cannot rename our default in root. Okay, so never mind. We're going to loop through our force tile %. We're going to break actually for each loop we break. And then we want to say, does any of the float in the list of force tile we have is nearly equal to, and we actually, first thing we're going to do is actually to make sure our length is greater than 0, because if we do not have any force tile to add to spawn, we're not going to do any check like this. So if we do not have any force tile to spawn, we're going to return false. And suddenly I'm thinking about something. When we reroll the dungeon, do we reset the level? Yes, we do. Else, if we wouldn't have been resetting the level, this wouldn't have worked. If we would have found ourselves in a layout that have that has reset the level, the dungeon. I'm sorry, what do I mean? I needed to make sure this was actually reset whenever we found ourselves re-rolling the dungeon, in order to make sure our force tile will be spawning in any layout we create. So our error tolerance in here is going to be our forced tile magnitude. This is going to be how hard, accurate we are when we try to plug our force tile. So this is going to be 10 by default. And what are we comparing this to? We're comparing this to the current tile progression multiplied by that. So if I put that in here, and then I'm taking that, I'm promoting that to a local variable. This is going to be current percent, like that. And then we want to compare these values to our current percentage. If any of the tile is matching, what do we want to do? We actually want to spawn it. So we're going to grab our force tile array map. We're going to find the, the tile that was actually matching our current percent. Then we're going to create a new function that says create forced tile. We're going to put that in our where are we going to put that? Layout for style. This is going to be layout for style, like that. Create for style is going to take as a parameter a direction structure. Where do we want to do this? So where were we? We were there. I'm going to close other tabs. So I actually want to create force tile. I'm going to hit Control 5. F5, refresh all nodes. Then I'm going to match that in here. We're going to break the loop after that. But before breaking the loop, we will actually remove this force tile from the array of tiles we need to add. So we're actually going to promote that to a function and said found, this is the found percent, and found percent is going to be -1 as default. We're going to say like that. And then, no, we're not going to say. So I just realized there is an issue with the fact of using a map in here. You cannot specify two float with the same value. So you cannot say I have 2 tiles at 50. But that's not really an issue, since you can use 49 and it will work. So actually, I'm just going to delete that entry. And I want a four-way at 50%. So this will say if we actually specified any additional tiles, any force tile, we're going to, if we have, we're going to say how much we are in the dungeon. When we are at 50%, it's going to find the tile we specified. It's going to give it our direction. It's going to store the percentage we found, and we're going to remove that percentage from our array. Remove item, we're going to remove the found percent, But before removing it, we're actually going to ask if we found if found percent is different from -1. And if it is, we're going to remove that and we're going to return true. We actually did not. So if we did not find a tile to spawn, we're actually going to return not false. We did not create a force tile. If we did create a force tile, we actually just have to return true. And this function is going to take care of the spawning mechanic. But it's not aware. We have a problem in here. It's not aware. This function is not it. This function will have to create a force tile, but it's not aware of the current of our current progression in the layout. So if I'm going back to our generate tile layout function, we can just get our tile layout and get the last thing we added, I guess. But it will be better to just use the previous location variable we're using in here. But that's the same. That previous location is actually our last array, our last I mean the last entry in that map, in the tile layout map. So actually we can take care of spawning the forest tile in here. So for now, we're just going to make a quick test. We're going to say that we did not create a forest tile, just to make sure that that function, the function that generates the layout, is going to generate the dungeon like we were generating it before. Because if this returns false, it will just run like before. And the create force tile function is going to debug the direction just to see if this actually says something when we hit play. What is this doing? So this is printing temp string. I'm just going to add a parenthesis to our local variable. Hit compile. Hit play. So this is not printing anything. Why it is not? Why is it not? Force tile magnitude 10, current percent 0. Current percent equals this. Force tile percent. Where are we setting this? Sets. Reset level. So I think. So it's never printing anything. Why is it not? Well, we're just going to go bit by bit, bits by bits. I mean, we're just going to print the current percentage. Zero 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 100. Okay, so that's why it's not working. So it's not working because these are integer, I believe, and we need to promote these to floats like this, and then we need to divide one by another. Then we need to multiply this by floats. Put that in here, hit compile, hit play. So it says we need to spawn a tile through a four-way. And I need to make sure this is actually saying it at 50%. So how to make sure? We're just going to well, actually, I know for a fact that it's printing at 50%. And it's doing it once because we're removing this. So what do we want to do when we create a force tile? Actually, we don't want to debug the direction. What do we want to do? That's where things get. We want to create a generic tile which has a tag. So I'm going. Let's open up our tile templates enum. Let's add a new enumerator in this. This is going to be forced tile. We're going to hit save. Then we're going to say we add how are we going to do that? So this is the moment where we actually spawned these tiles, and then we want a four-way. First thing we want to do is make sure we don't end up in a situation where we are here asking for a four-way because we cannot spawn it. Well, actually we will be able to spawn it if we put it there and connect it with the tile above. Actually, we could be doing this. But we don't want that to happen. We don't want the four-way to be so close to the start tile. If we specified we want the four-way to be at 50% of our level. Obviously, we will prefer having the four-way at that location. So what do we want to do here? We want to find a location around our we want to find the tiles around our last location. And then we want to get the tiles around that location. Get locations around. We want to loop through these locations. And it's actually kind of hard to just say we created the force tile. We actually managed to create the tile in here before being able to determine that we have the possibility to create the four-way, for instance, because we might not have the possibility to create the four-way in the first place. But we'll see. So we actually find the last tile, we get the tiles around, but that's only if, so I'm building the logic for a four-way in here. And we're just going to build the logic for a four-way, and we're going to factorize the code afterwards in the next videos. So let's say, is the location used? No, after getting the location around, we want to get the location around the locations around. We want to know if they are used. And we actually want to get the tile around that is the least, that is surrounded by the more outs. You got me? The more free cells around. So we're actually going to build a little function that says get free cells around. This is going to be around the 2D vector. Don't we already have a location like a function like this? Get locations around. Okay, get free cells around. This is going to be in location. And what do we want to return in here? We actually want to return two things, an array of locations and just the number of outs. This is going to be a pure function. And we want to go back to our create for style function. We're going to control X that, control X that. We're going to copy paste that in our get free sales around. We want to loop through the locations around that. And we want to say is the location used. If the location is not used, well, actually, we're going to promote that to a temporary variable. This is going to be outs, temp outs. And then you actually really want to plug that like this. I mean, no, this is not good practice. We're going to promote that to a local variable. We're going to call them real outs. And we want to loop through temp outs, but we want to remove any location used from our real outs function. So we're going to remove items from here if the locations are used, and then we want to return our real outs variable, and we want to return the length like this. This is just utility. I could just ask for the length each time, but I just want to return the length. So I don't have to call this whenever I want to check if there actually are outs at this location. So when we try to create our four-way, we actually want to get the last tile we added, and then we want to get the free cells around. And we want to get the free cells around. And then we want to say we'll take the cell in here that has the greatest number of outs. So we're going to promote that to we're going to create a new local variable. This is going to be possible locations. We're going to say this is actually a location. I mean a vector 2D. And this is going to be an int. And we want to add to that map the outs and the array. I mean, do we actually want to do that? We want to create an array, get the greater of this array. How do I want to do this? For each I want, for each tiles around, I want to add the possible locations to them, and then I want to get the values, and I want to get the max of int array. But that's not, how am I going to retrieve the location afterwards? Okay, so I just need to get the keys of these and then loop and say I want to find. I think that's a much easier way to do it, but I'm just not seeing it right now. So is the number of outs in this location at this location is equal to the maximum number of outs we found? We're going to return that function. We're going to return that that index. So that's the index we want to find. And where do we want to find it? We want to say we want to find it in here. So we want to promote that to a local variable, which is going to be, oh, we actually don't need that, excuse me. So we just want to say this is the found location. This is the tile we found, which is a round that has the greater amount of outs. We might want to convert that to a function that gives us, that automatically returns us the tile with the greater amount of outs, but we'll see. So this is our found location. Get free cells around. We'll have to make sure the free cells around are actually greater than 0. If they are, that's what we want to do. Then we found that location. And what do we want to do at that location? We want to create a four-way. So we're going to add tile to layout. So we want to do that 4 times. These are going to be forced tile. We are actually going to loop are we going to do that? We're actually, how are we going to create those tiles? We need to ask, where are we? Okay, so we need to ask, where is the last? So we need this. We need this. This is our current location. This is our current location. We want to know, where am I coming from if I'm getting our current location to our found location. And we actually just want to add a tile to the layout from our current location to our found location, and we want that to be a force tile. So this is just creating, so we created this tile, and we're here. We are here, and our function returning the amount of outs told us to create the four-way in here. So we actually just, we're creating this tile with this node. We create something in here, and then we actually want to create 2 more tiles, 3 more tiles, like that, but not in here. So we want to exclude the tile we are coming from. So we actually want to know where we're coming from. So we want to say these are the temp locations to add. This is going to be a cardinal array. This is going to have 4 entries, like that. We're going to say where are we coming from here to there. We want to remove from this array the location we are coming from. Then we want to say let's loop through that array. And we want to add a tile. We want to add tile towards that direction. So I'm thinking about using some of our utility function. So I actually want to transform that into I actually want to do card direction to vector. This is going to take a cardinal and it's going to return a vector, a 2D vector, return value. This is going to be a pure function. This is going to be in direction. Oh, we actually did that at some point in one of our... I'm sure we did that somewhere. Yep, get locations around. We actually done that in here. So we want to control C this. We want to go direction to vector. We want to do it like that. To plug direction into index and plug return value in here. And we want to hit compile. We want to use our newly created function in here. Direction to vector. And then we want to go back to our create for style function, and then we want to call our this function, let's say direction to vector, and we actually want to add a tile to our layout, which is connected to our found location. And where are they? They are in here plus the direction to vector function, like that. So this is creating quite a bunch of function of tiles, I mean. So if I'm finding the references to this, we are calling that in our check for force tile function. We want to go back to our generate layout function, and we want to say, did we created a force tile? So we are actually already saying it in here, but we want to say if we did our previous location, where is it? It's I don't want that. I want our tile layout. I want the keys, and then I want the last index. I want to get a copy of the last index, and I want to say my previous location is the last key in here. When I'm getting the free cells around, I mean when I'm creating a force tile, So this is actually, we're actually going to promote that to a function and call this create forced four ways. And we're going to go in here and say, so I actually have to create a local variable, and then I have troubles about all of these variables. I'm promoting them to local variables, but they don't have the right value, I believe, because I was generating the value in the create for style function, if I'm not mistaken. So our current location, create four-way. In here, we're generating that map. Then we're storing our found location, our current location. We did not store that value, so our current location is actually that value, that's that location, like this. I want to hit compile. So we have all the value we needed. Our temp location to add. These are not the good values. In here, we want something that has all the value. So all the directions. And we actually want to shuffle that array to randomize in what order it's adding the tiles. And we want to make sure this index is greater than 3, is actually equal to 3. The number, this index is the number of outs we found in the tiles around us. So if we did not find a tile that has three outs around it, we're going to print an error. We're going to return a value, we're going to return a bool in here, success not. Did not find room for forced four-way. And we're going to return success if we actually did. So let's go back to our create for style. What is this? I'm not sure about whether this is returning. This should return something. This should return something as well. Did it success? Did it succeed? If it succeeds, we're returning true in here, and we are actually removing the tile we added. So this has to return the parameter we are throwing back. This function is throwing back. So if we do not find a tile with 3 outs, we're returning false. If we do find it, we are creating it. This is the tile surrounded by 3 outs. So let's check that boolean, the created for style boolean. Let's check it. Let's hit play. Did not find room for forced four-way. Does it break our level generator? It should not be. Well, actually, we have several problems in here. First is we do not have uh, a set of forced tile. So that's kind of a problem. And I'm just thinking about. So these are the. That's strange. I was thinking that was the replacement tiles. Yeah, I'm wrong about. So I was browsing I was in my content browser, and I was checking this folder called additional tiles, and I was like, I'm worried these are not supposed to be additional tiles, and I was correct. These are replacement tiles. And when we rename stuff like this, sometimes Unreal doesn't like it, and we want to see if it created any redirectors. And I actually have a redirector called BP level generator. I'm going to right click it and hit fix up, and it cleaned it. So this is the kind of file that makes you unable to build if you have too many redirectors in your engine. So I actually want to go to my additional tile. So this is also not an additional tile, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, these are all replacement tiles. So I'm going to just rename them real quick. I'm also going to rename these like that. I'm going to make sure I still do not have any redirector. I do not. That's fine. I'm going to hit compile. I'm going to hit compile in my generator. I'm going to hit play just to make sure it did not break anything. So yep, we did not break anything. Like that. So, but it's not spawning our four-way, but that's okay. I wanted to make sure our force tile are colored the same way additional tiles are colored. I mean, I want to color them to make sure we can see them. So how are we going to do that? That's actually quite simple. We're going to go in our BP tile function, blueprint, and then we're going to create a new material that this is going to be, I don't know, flat orange. I mean just orange. This is going to be like that. And we're going to say that if this tile is of type force tile, we're going to apply the material we just created to the floor. Mi orange, we're going to hit compile, hit save. If I'm hitting play, doesn't change anything. So it did not find room for forced four-way. So if I'm going back to our create four-way function, we want to know where we are throwing that error, and that's when we're asking if the number of outs in the cells around. Oh, I actually get 3 cells around. So if I'm opening this up, that's always a struggle. So if I'm opening this up, if I'm getting the 3 cells around, that means I'm here, I'm getting the cells around, I'm getting this one and this one. And then do I have more than 0? Yes, I do. Then do they have cells around them? 1, 2, 3 cells. I'm storing the amount of outs. I'm going to print the amount of outs we do have in here. 2, 3, 3, 3, 2. So it finds 3 outs sometimes. We're adding them in that map. Then we're getting the values, we're getting the max. Sometimes it fails to find. So I'm starting to think that I need to remove our replacement tiles from there. So I want to get rid of our replacement tiles and I want to hit play. So it says it does not find room for the four-way. But I know for a fact that I was thinking that it was never going through, but I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's going through sometimes. Oh, it's actually never being true. What is? I know I printed the amount of outs in here, so I know that sometimes it's giving me three outs. Yep, so I know there are 3 outs. Index of max value. Okay, I want to get the max value in here. Yep, that's what I want to do. I want to get the max value in here. I want to hit compile, hit play, and it created something like this. So it's starting to look like it's actually starting to look like something, even if it's not working. So what are we doing in here? We are actually adding a tile. So is this working? Is the first tile working? I don't believe it is. Why is... I know why. Because it's not finding... I'm dumb. Get tile class. So if I'm going back to that, it's creating start tile actually. So we need to say that if our tile is of type force tile, what do we want to do? We want to, well, actually you could be spawning whatever tile you want, but you need to make sure the tile you are asking for have the right connections. But in here, I'm saying that if it's a force tile, I'm going to browse the generic tile list. So if I'm hitting play, it's actually generating a three-way. So I guess I just have something wrong in my logic concerning the fact of getting the tiles around and feeding them. And we actually add other issues. I want to see what they are. So it's not connecting these two tiles with each other. Why is it not? I don't understand why. So first of all, we are not generating extra connections with the force tile. So that's why they are never connected to the rest of the dungeon. Well, actually not always not connected, because we can see here that's because the level generator actually restarted its logic from there, I believe. But it's kind of if I'm going to just recheck the function. Create forced tile. We're creating a four-way. So we know for sure this is working. This is the location we found. We're adding a forced tile. And we're telling it where it connects. Let's just reverse this and that. Hit play. So it's starting to look like a four-way to me. So the tile around is actually this tile is actually I made a mistake. So the other tile, this tile should be generic tile, and the tile we are spawning should be our force tile. So if I'm hitting play, this should always be in the middle of a four. This should always be a four-way. But why are we making this? That's because you might have. So this gives us two. This is going. I mean, the four-way is going to wrap up the video. But I want to explain something first. What is the point of the forced tile? The point of the forced tile is to connect to build the forced tile map in correlation to the replacement tiles you want. For instance, if I say I want in here, I want the four-way replacement tile we created, and if I'm hitting play, I will always have, so I will finish the explanation first. So you want to build that in relation, because if you specify a force tile in here, a replacement tile in here, I mean a four-way, but maybe your dungeon generator is not going to actually build a four-way in its dungeon because of the randomness of the dungeon. So maybe you want to force the operation of a four-way using this tool, so in order to make sure your four-way spawns. But you do not have to connect these two systems with each other. You can just use them with each other if you want, or use them apart. So we're just going to make sure the replacement tiles can actually be spawned on force tiles. So how are we going to do that? We're just going to go to our generation tools, go to our replacement tile layout, and when we ask for generic, if it's a generic tile, we are also going to ask, is this a forced tile? Oops. And if it's actually a forced tile, we're going to go back to the main loop. We're going to hit compile, hit save, and if I'm hitting play, I should never have a dungeon without the replacement tile, the blue four-way. It's not supposed to be able to spawn a dungeon without the blue four-way. Even if I specify quite a lower amount of tiles, let's say 3 tile amounts, I'm going to hit play, and we add an infinite loop. So I did not prevent the infinite loop correctly in our previous function. This is in our revert cardinal function, so I'm not sure about how it can give us an error. So the random returns north, the random is going to return random. But why are we getting an infinite loop in here? If I'm going in our... that's actually... We're going to open up our developer tool. So when is this? If I'm hitting play again, so I'm going to increase the number of tile we have, I'm going to say we have 4 tiles. If I'm hitting play, okay. And I'm going to say we have 0 corridors to end tile. We have 1 minimum step start to min steps to start tile. We have 1 additional tile amount. I'm going to hit compile, hit save, hit play. So the dungeon was too small to spawn things the right way, but I'm not sure where it comes from, so I'm a bit worried about that. So it's not spawning our 4-way. Why is it not? When we specify 3 tiles, sometimes it's spawning it. It should always be spawning it. And it also gives us no error. So that's going to wrap up the video for now. I'm going to continue in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed it and hope to see you there. Bye bye!